Hello, my name's Clayton.
And I'm Alex.
My name's Danny, and these are the things we've seen.
I love that in the last couple episodes, you've done something like that, and I put it right when the intro song starts or right after it ends because it's so funny.
Fades out.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you'll see it because it's just such a brief like off. Like, okay, we've had enough of you, dude.
and I like
Shut up.
making it abrupt so it's funnier.
And that's like those masterclass videos. So, but anyways, enough about me. Enough about Alex.
But all that.
Our guest today is the wonderful, magical Daniel Johnson, who we've been in bands together. So let's have you kind of start that off. What was the first band that you were in, and was it MissAugust?
It wasn't. In high school, freshman year, I got invited to a friend's house. He was another alternative kid, and I think just through talking at school, he found out I had gotten the Squire guitar set up, and had no idea what I was doing or how to use it. But then it was like, hey, do you want to be in a band? Never mind the guitar you have, but we don't have a bass player. It's like, okay, well, hold on, let me figure something out. I think he maybe had a bass for me to borrow for night one, but then I talked to the band teacher, Monty Dunham, and kind of mentioned it, and he's like, oh, well, we have a jazz bass that no one uses at school. You can borrow that. And I was like,
Was that the Schecter?
No, the Schecter, that was my graduation purchase of
Nice.
I want a real nice bass, which I still have. It needs a little work, but I at least had a luthier take a look at it, and I know what it needs. It's in decent shape. But.
So what was the direction for that band? Like you said, alternative.
Yeah,
was it
so it was very punk derived. The first band name, it was kind of this weird amalgamation of my guitar player friend Justin. He was a great technical player and very progressive, and then Nick, the lead singer, was very raw and edge of punk. So the first title, I think, was Sick Nick and the Drop Kicks.
That's such a cool name. I like that.
Actually,
That's a
sick
really
name.
cool name.
That actually is that. I'm going to put myself on blessed. That's a better name than Delinquent Youth.
I can think of 20 names better than Delinquent Youth, but we won't go there.
Anyways.
Juvenile detention. We bleached our own band merch, so we had black shirts that then I didn't help in that part, but I came to band practice one day. Nick's mom was so gracious in letting us use the basement. She never knew about the special export lights we stole, and there was just so much food that she would just have this tub of fried chicken that they made for the week, and so band practice was best case scenario.
You can at least eat.
Yeah, we got food. We go in the basement. We can just make terrible sounds, and it was great. Yeah.
That sounds very reminiscent of the Pellinger's basement.
Right.
But instead of stealing, special export lights, it was cans of Mountain Dew and
Yeah.
whatever.
It was a little more
This was the
wholesome.
precursor.
Yeah, whatever pops you can get your hand on. So,
Yeah, it was probably better that we were under more constraint at that household.
And that's I think that's always how it goes with your first band and whatever. So,
It's very free range.
and then after that band, was that MissAugust then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and so MissAugust was at first Asthmatic Massacre.
That's right. Oh my God.
There was a brief phase. I made a brief T-shirt design. It was just such a early kind of formation of let's, the bands we have merch. They play music in this range of heaviness. So let's do that. Let's make the stuff we like.
Do you still have that design somewhere?
I don't think so. I don't personally have any of the merch. Someone had mentioned, Cody had mentioned at one of the resale shirt events, he was just oh, I saw an Asthmatic Massacre, or no, I saw the MissAugust shirt with the gang font and graffiti style. And I was just like, shoot, if it's here, like, I will buy it. I don't care if it's a 3X, but like, and yeah, I never found it.
I have that shirt.
You do?
I have the graffiti one. So
Sick.
When you get home later, find it. We'll put it in the video so people know.
Slide it in.
Because I want to see this. I didn't know
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah, I have one of the original, original, but the graffiti art.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one that I have is I still have that graffiti style MissAugust trucker hat
Dope.
that you made.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's roaming around in my basement somewhere too, still actually. So.
That's awesome.
That sounds so badass.
Yeah, Clay has been a collector of fine things since I've known him, and I feel like I've mentioned your collection to people I've talked to, especially regarding like band merch or like, oh yeah, back in the Hot Topic days, like Clay, and I can't knock you for it because it's like when a shirt costs $1.50,
Yeah.
like I don't know, it could be a good rag.
So, and that's something that people watching, listening may not know right now is that we were coworkers at the mall at Hot Topic, and I moved in the area back in 2008, and so I showed up as a butt rocky kid, and I never knew what the world of metalcore was. I knew what Kill Switch Engage was, and that was about it. I knew what As I Lay Dying was, and
You're into Lamb of God and like heavier.
And then I think I gravitated towards you guys because I was like, oh well, I like to store the guitars, and I think I heard Suicide Silence from you being like the first person to show me that, and then Greg, who worked there too, was like, oh, you need to check out Bring Me the Horizon. So,
And I was thinking about this podcast the other day in the shower as I think about important things, and I just realized, like, shout out Rob Singleton.
yes, huge props to Rob.
Which I don't know, like, where he's at or what he's doing. But I was like, man, without Rob giving me that job at Hot Topic, like, there are so many people I wouldn't have met or wouldn't have engaged in the same way.
Right.
And it's just like, shoot, that was definitely, like, a very pivotal moment. So I was hopeful for that.
See, I didn't know that you guys worked together there.
Yeah,
You maybe have mentioned it, but didn't say that it was him.
I had forgot about that. So
but I was like,
when did you start shopping at Hot Topic?
I had to have been probably almost 13,
So what year roughly is that?
like 2012 maybe.
2012? Okay,
Yeah.
so I would have been gone by then.
Yeah.
and I think.
I had definitely been in before that, but I didn't like actively shop there till
Right,
then.
right.
So like, I mean, I would go in and like look at little pop culture things, but like, I didn't go in with like the intent of music and stuff until around then. So like, I had definitely 100% had seen at least Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I started in probably like 06 or 07 because I was there maybe a year or two before you came on. And then I was there another, year or two.
Yeah. I always think of when I think back to that original crew where it was Rob, Katie, Andrea,
Yeah.
and Greg and you. I always think of like that Vince McMahon gif where it's like, Dad, what was it like shopping in Hot Topic in the 2000s? And he's like,
Yeah.
We ain't talking about that.
yeah, we don't talk about that because I'm going to start crying.
They used to have CDs.
And I think what's really fun about the whole Hot Topic situation is you guys literally watched me, no pun attached to my name, but you guys watched me like mold into so many different
Yeah.
circles and finally figuring out who the hell I was. The healthier actual version of me, which was kind of awesome.
The real Clay.
Yeah, the real Clay. Yeah. So thank you for, being a part of the original crew that was putting up with my bullshit and super patient with me. So
We all get
I think about that so often, especially when it comes to the whole straight edge thing too. It's like I have friends who aren't straight edge that are probably just like the biggest sweethearts on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think anyone in that original crew of Hot Topic people were even straight edge. That Rob wasn't. So
Definitely not.
but oh my God, me and Rob, that was a great time. We would listen to like BT. I don't know if I've ever shown you BT or not. I may have, but the fact that there was another person out there that knew who BT was, like blew my mind. I was like, fuck yeah, I get to listen to electronic music with this person. So, anyways, not to derail, but yeah, you guys were just absolute sweethearts and helped me shape who I am and accepted me, and can't thank you enough.
So now look at you go.
Yeah.
Now here we are.
Now-
So is that
now
kind of
we're
how
grown
you
up.
got to MissAugust then? Or I should say how Clay got to it, because
Yeah.
Yep.
obviously, you know, you were
Yeah.
doing stuff prior to Clay getting
So
here.
MissAugust existed probably before I moved, or maybe it was just coming out of Asthmatic Massacre.
Yeah, it was
Did
somewhere in that
change?
phase because I was trying to think of like, well, I think I just met like Ethan and Tyler and Quentin like through going at shows at the Warehouse, and just sort of it was all like periphery. They're like, oh, we know Dan works at Hot Topic, and he likes going to metal shows,
Yeah.
and then yeah, just other scene people in lacrosse, and there was and I think still is a fairly decent sized collection of people who like just go to support the music.
Yeah.
And that's the best part of community, or like that's where you see the community is people who are just like we show up.
Well,
I feel like especially now,
Yeah.
you know, the day after Christmas show was a really good example.
Yeah.
Like, obvious with everything that went on over the last few months and stuff, and it
Right.
was like, oh, it's going to happen.
We need
you know,
a fresh start.
It was really cool to see, like, there were so many people there that I was like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
I've never seen
I
you
haven't
before.
seen you in years. So.
Yeah, or I've just like haven't seen in a long time, but there were so many like brand new faces, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Right.
And I think it was really cool. What was it? The Roses on Mars show.
Yeah.
That me and Jess talked about how Mars was a student of hers for the
Yeah.
cello. And I'm like, I got a cello in my basement that I need to figure out how to get rid of. And she told me, yeah, you need to take it to this person and they'll give you an appraisal. And like those connections, those little unspoken connections are fantastic. I love those. So,
Right.
it comes full circle, and it's not always just metal. And me and Alex have talked about this off air plenty of times, but I love metal music. I love hardcore, and all the aggressive music.
Subgenres and-
But I can only listen to it for so long. So and I think of when I think of like a more calming, like serene kind of like music. It's not always the first thing that pops in my head, but like you're in that like top 10 of like Danny is a very, very level-headed person. What music is he listening to? It's got to be something with banjos right now.
It's definitely a goddamn band.
So I mean, you have probably a more eclectic collection of music in your head than probably me at this point. So
I don't know, but the tools of the internet are very helpful.
yeah. So I mean, because you've listened to, I think you're the person that introduced me to Animals as Leaders and described it as, dark jazz.
Yes.
Or as we
Sexual
called
jazz
it
funk.
last week, death metal jazz.
Death metal jazz, yeah. And I was listening to just these like different chord progressions. I'm like, and I hear these specific jazzy chords, and that's when I think of Danny. So I'm like,
Hear that jazz.
this is like I can calm down, like, and that's something that I'm gonna toot your horn all through this episode, like just so you know.
Horn's gonna be so
Oh,
tooted.
yeah.
so tooted.
My horn's already sore.
This just in, Danny's horn is tooted.
You definitely bring the like the peaceful side to things, and I can appreciate that. So I don't know. Going back, that's why I was bringing it up, because I can go back to, I can't listen to metal music all the time, but like I'll listen to like lo-fi stuff and just this like ambient stuff in the background.
Find a vibe to calm to.
Yeah, and part of that used to be the Tai Chi and stuff like that. Do you still practice?
Yeah, I haven't been on the Tai Chi as hard. The yoga and just kind of finding like movements to follow has been helpful. And obviously the winter months are, everything's moving slower.
Yeah.
But I have a nice little back patio, and like it is ideal for, just enough space to move around. And yeah, I think, I don't know, as artists like you guys are, and like just being sensitive to the world around you, I think there's only so much intensity you can expose yourself to until it's like, okay, this is too much intensity.
Yeah.
I'm becoming affected by it. So
Yeah, like you need a break.
yeah.
You need to find a way.
It's a palate cleanser.
But then what's wild on the other side is when you live in a pretty calm life, and then you go into your car and put on the annotations of an autopsy CD, and you're just like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, this is that shit.
Yeah.
Here
I
comes
did
the
use the
cracking.
jam. Yeah.
Man, that was the thing that I definitely remember too, is the going back and forth between like, the Hot Topic playlist. That thing was everywhere. You
Yeah.
know, like one day we're listening to like David Bowie, and then the next one is We Butter the Bread with Butter.
And I still have those, like, the CDs that came out of the listening station. I still have copies of those floating around. 'Cause,
Like the mix CDs.
Yeah.
That's
Or
so sick.
between the mix CDs, or like when they used to have like a top 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you could, once they were done, put those out of rotation. It's like, oh, we can just take them. And yeah, I think I have, I don't know, just a bunch of like old stuff that I don't get rid of because it's hard. And especially like once the CDs are out of their jewels and into just like a big binder, it's like they're not hurting anyone.
Yeah. So going back to Asthmatic Massacre, where did that name come from? Who came up with that one?
That was before my time, and I think it was probably some thought child of Quentin or Tyler, because I don't think...
Do either of them have asthma?
That's a good question.
I don't.
We'll find out.
Yeah, on the next episode.
Go message them later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they do, it's not like terribly apparent. So,
The massacre has ended.
yes, yeah, there is no more asthma
Because I'm not
currently
like, that is a
afflicting.
really sick name. I like that band name actually.
Asthmatic Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reunion.
Yeah.
Debut tour.
Debut
I
tour.
think the thing with like band names, it's funny because as I listen to The Current fairly regularly. I'll plug KEXP if anyone's looking for a radio station. Seattle, it's like they're just really good at diversity.
KEXP.
Yep.
Okay.
So easy to find online and just stream it that way. But yeah, band names now have gotten so like fun and playful, and Minneapolis is great for that too, where like people realize like we just need a name that once people say it, they're like, huh, those words and letters are funny in my mouth.
Yeah, like they flow nice, and it gives a little chuckle.
Makes, like I can't even build a contextual picture to relate to what they're describing, but like I'm curious.
Yeah.
And you pique my curiosity, and I'll go to your show.
Well, and that was when I was buying CDs as a kid. The name and the artwork definitely had an influence on me. I'm like, oh, I want to check this. Even if I've never heard the band, I think Chimera is a good example of that. I think I was looking for like the newest Slipknot CD at the time, and I was just like flipping through, and there was this like gnarly looking spiky ball, and the band name font was, like splatter kind of like font. And I was like, I don't know who this is, but I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to take it home and listen to it. And if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I ended up fucking loving Chimera.
And see, I still do that. Like we'll go to record stores and stuff. I think I might have talked about it before, but we'll go and like I'll specifically do it with like 7 inches because it's cheaper generally. And like I'll just sift through, and if like the name seems kind of cool or like the artwork is sick, I'm just like, all right, let's just see what this is.
Right.
And like I'll pick up a couple and go home and throw them on, and then I'm like, all right, these are cool. Or I'm like, it sucks. Glad that it was $1. You
Yeah.
know, like
Well,
Low risk.
revisit to the first episode. You should tell Danny your story about Matchbox 20 and Rob Zombie.
Oh yeah. So just a little recap here. So when I was like first really getting into music and like buying my own CDs and stuff, I remember going to a garage sale, and I was just like looking at the CDs, and I'm like, all right, like what do they got? See if there's anything cool. And there was 2 CDs that caught my eye. The first Matchbox 20 record, and Rob Zombie's Hellbilly. It was those 2 sitting there, and I was like, there's no way I can get Rob Zombie. I was like, that looks like something my parents would be cool with me having, because I mean I was like 6 or 7.
Young kid.
Yeah, I was a pretty young kid. I was like, there's no chance. But I was like, Matchbox 20, that's a cool name. And then like bought that. Now obviously here I am. things are much different now. I'll still listen to Rob Zombie here and there. But
I'll still listen to Matchbox 20.
dude, I will listen to Matchbox 20 all the time.
Yeah.
Like
It's all coming back around.
I love Matchbox 20. Still one of my favorite bands.
So, and on that note, do you remember your first CD?
I do, and it has a small story that is just corny and entertaining. But
Perfect.
I will say, my brother-in-law introduced me, Norm, who is here in Bangor. He introduced me to Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe, and I was just kind of like, Yeah.
Dude,
Like,
when you see that cover, you're like, this has to be crazy.
And yeah, like I think I was 14 or 13 when I first saw it, and I was like, I have feelings inside of me right now that are just blossoming.
they're excited, yeah.
Yeah, like it's stimulating.
I feel like I was at that same age too. Of like, I know it was 7th grade. I'm pretty sure was like when I was exposed to it. But my first CD that was more independent. So my sister was a few years older than me, and she was in the school band, and you sold CDs, part of their program. I was looking through, and there was a Kid Rock CD.
Yeah.
And it had the parental advisory sticker on it, and I was like, oh man, I want this CD, and I know it's bad. And I know it's
I know
naughty.
it's bad.
And I got it through my sister, and I think she maybe didn't quite know what she was like letting me into. But then once I think Mom saw the CD out or something, and was like, "Oh, why do you need that? Or what's that for?"
Do you remember which Kid Rock CD was?
Did it have
Is it
Yodeling in the
American
valley?
Badass?
Oh, it was the one with American Badass on it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Bow to the
Fantastic.
bow, to bang to bang.
Incredible.
Wait, is that? No, wait. Was Baba? No, Baba to Baba was the his like red cover CD.
Yeah, or is it like self-titled?
Something like
Yeah.
that. Like,
He's got a few
American
records
Badass
out
is
there.
the one that like where he ripped off Metallica, or no, where Metallica ripped off him.
Yeah, Metallica ripped off Kid Rock.
Metallica ripped off Kid Rock. Let's
Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Lars heard it and went, "All right, I know what we're
That's-
doing.
We got to up the game.
We got to figure this out."
I think I was about probably 14, and I remember hearing Kid Rock and being like, yeah, I'm down with this, you know. So, and then I learned that riff and learned that it's only just like opens in threes, and that's
And
all it
nothing's
is.
changed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here we are, the year of our Lord, 2024.
Our Lord and Savior, Kid Rock.
This is the year
He's
of
too
Kid
busy
Rock.
shooting beers to prove that he ain't gay.
Dude, he's shooting the gay beer to prove that he's actually straight edge.
Yeah.
So,
This episode brought to you by Bud Light.
straight edge Kid Rock.
They make straight edge Bud Light.
They make straight edge White Claw now.
Right.
So-
Oh my God. Yeah.
You've seen that picture?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I
It's
just
circulated around.
I was literally looking at that going, someone in White Claw marketing was like, you guys, what if we just made sparkling water and just said it had no alcohol in it? And someone goes, you just got a promotion.
That's how you're converting.
Yeah.
But don't put the word water on the title. Like
You
it's
do
still
that,
got to
no
look
one's gonna
like
drink
White
it.
Claw.
Yeah. Yeah. People hate sparkling water. But if you say that it's White Claw with no alcohol,
Yeah.
they'll buy it. So.
Yeah.
So
So speaking of White Claw, was MissAugust the last band you were in? Or did you do anything after that?
I think it pretty much was, yeah. Because since then, it's just I've gone through different eras of like I don't know solo work or trying to like just entertain yourself with an instrument.
Yeah.
And I think like as an adult now, that's probably where I'll stay for a while, because I think for a lot of reasons, like I really respect the time and energy people put into a band, and I view it as not easy, and it's like it is a difficult relationship. And like, so my partner Jesse plays in a couple bands, and I've never realized before the last few years how much being in a band is like an open relationship. Like
Yep.
you all, if you want to do progressive things or if you want to like push yourself as artists, you're going to have to like communicate, you're going to have to plan, you're going to have to like all agree on things, which is like, those are the hardest parts of a relationship.
yeah.
Yeah,
And to do that
100%.
with, and to do it with one person, and is it's difficult for some people enough as it is. To do it with like another 3, 4, or 5 people,
Right.
that's
And then balancing a schedule where it's like, okay, they work, weekends and some time during the week, and like just all the organization. It's like I respect art and music too much to just think that like, oh, this is easy, and like let's just throw it all together.
which is I'm at I'm teetering on that right now, where it's like I like being able to do things with people, but I really do respect my own time to sit and I just explored a Gojira plugin on Friday or Saturday, and I wrote like probably 5 brand new riffs and
Nice.
saved them onto my computer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're there when the time is ready,
Right.
But it was nice to just feel like that creative impulse starting to bloom again. And
Mhm.
I'm probably up to like 60 riffs
Yeah.
that I can use at some point now. But
Pull from.
and I am in control of myself, and it's not like I'm sending it out to someone and then someone's going to critique it and be like, oh well, this sucks, you shouldn't do this, and this is good here, but
So you should start sending me those so I can tell you suck.
I am going to.
No.
Yeah, no, I actually have sent you a couple.
Yeah, you've
So,
sent me a handful. They're
yeah,
all really sick.
And you can be honest. You can say this. I'm just kidding.
So to be perfectly real, they're pretty bad.
But yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from with the you respect art too much to, kind of.
I guess, yeah, I think like if you want to do it, like, let it be true and honest and just like out there, and doing it for those other reasons. I think it's very easy to say it's for that, and then who knows whatever those other reasons are.
Right.
But I think too, trying to like present yourself, and I think like some people wouldn't think I have like anxiety, but we all live with certain parts of anxiety in us. And I think it's been very apparent now, like more personally, trying to like record something I'm playing, and we can get into the banjo in a little bit, but it is uncanny the way like I can feel comfortable. I'm kind of riffing. As soon as I set my phone down and press record, it's just kind of like, oh, well, now we start over. And like, wait, I have to,
Yeah.
this
Do you
is
ever
not,
just like, you're like, oh shit, I forgot what I was playing kind of a thing?
kind of, yeah. And
Yeah, because I'm guilty of the same thing. I'll be like, oh, this is sick. I need to record this. So like, what I started to do to get over that is
Yeah.
just have like my dog going all the time.
Right.
Like
yeah.
if I'm sitting down and I'm
Just set
plugged in,
record.
it's just going.
Yeah.
Or like if I know I'm about to just kind of like noodle around, but I'm not plugged in, I'll just like prop the phone up and record myself.
Yeah.
And if like something cool comes from it, then I can be like, all right, I've got it.
Take
If
that
not,
splice. Yeah.
there's 45 minutes of something I don't need. Get rid of it. So
I think my first instance of that form of anxiety was actually when we got together with Marty Berg.
Yes.
So
That was-
in his little closet, like,
Yeah.
recording and stuff. And it's the first time I think I ever saw someone be like, "Okay, well, let's do that again," and we're like, "Oh, that's a possibility." Like,
We can
oh
just
shit.
keep doing it.
So,
Yeah.
funny story about him. I just talked to that guy.
Oh, really?
And,
is that why you brought him up yesterday?
yeah, because I was like, oh, Danny's totally connected to Marty in this way too. So because we used to hang out, and I was like, I told Marty, I was like, I want you to come on here and tell the story about why you thought I was totally not straight edge. He's like, there's no way that guy's sober. The way that he's talking and acting.
So obviously you had known Clay well before I did and stuff, and you knew Clay when he was not an edgeman or anything. So you experienced a different side of Clay than I have, and you played in a band with him and whatnot. So what was kind of how was the band when like Clay first came in? Like what were you guys doing? Obviously you already had stuff going.
Yeah.
And that was you were part of the final lineup, right, Clay?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did Clay come into the picture all the way up to when did MissAugust end? Like what all did you guys do in that time? Because I wasn't like active in going to shows yet, kind of a thing. Because I probably didn't go to shows till shortly after MissAugust would have ended. It would have been probably a couple years after.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think it's interesting because like at the time Clay was well older than us.
Yeah.
And we were kind of a smattering, but Clay was an outlier. And I think like none of us had the capacity to be like, hey Clay, let's better our lives, or like, hey, like, maybe we shouldn't start the day with a tall glass of vodka and ice.
That was a thing. I forgot.
That's so funny.
Oh my god.
Because like I just can't like see Clay in that way.
It's
It was a
Because I've never known him that way.
And I think like we were all a shit show. So like to us, Clay was just an entertaining shit show.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, we're encouraging everybody's bad behavior.
So you guys were like all out of school at this point, right? Or would you had still been like end of high school kind of a thing?
I think I was for sure out of high school. I think Quentin's a little younger than me.
I think he was the youngest.
Yeah. So I think he might have been just trailing out of high school.
Probably.
So like, yeah, it was a lot of like early adulthood experience.
So it's these young guys, and then Clay comes in and he's just insane.
Yeah, Clay was wild, but Clay had like the ambition and the interest in music, and like there were so many factors of Clay that it's like this is exactly what we need, because as wild as you're way more focused than like a bunch of fucking teenagers.
Yeah.
And like Clay already had experience at that point too, so of course that kind of helps you guys a little bit, being
Yeah.
a little more green.
I have the ability to play guitar, kinda.
Yeah.
Well, that was-
Just enough.
I've met that requirement.
Yep. Yeah, the bar was not super high.
That was
so
the
we
only
could,
requirement.
you know, and Ethan brought a lot to guitars too.
Yeah,
and,
actually looked up a lot to Ethan for like, I don't know how that dude does pitch harmonics the way he does. He's like, oh yeah, this is how Dimebag does pitch harmonics, and like I'll watch his hand and like this still doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, just play it normal. And he's like, dude, I am playing it normal. And so
it's just how Dimebag Darrell would play it.
I don't know if he's being sassy about it or if he's like actually serious, but I'm like, I'll see him like do this thing with his thumb, and I'm like, I don't get it, but it works.
Yeah.
It absolutely works. And so, and the dude's finger reach is crazy. Like those first like riffs, I think it was like Small Town Bruiser or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that riff that he showed me, I was like, can people do that with their fingers? And he was like, yeah, dude, it's just like this. It was like John Petrucci's like masterclass. Like, come on, just do it. It's like this. You
You
know?
just do it.
And so, yes, I think it was really cool to be like, okay, well, this dude's interested in playing guitar. Like, Danny's a really, really well edged out person, and you know, like someone who can, you know, riff off of me. Like Ethan can do lead stuff, I can at least do rhythm, and it's good to have another rhythm man with me. So, you know, I think that kind of helped me kind of be like, okay, well, they're serious about it too. Maybe I should start taking things just a little bit more serious, but let me finish this Twisted Tea first.
So did that kind of transition into you guys, you know, obviously you played a fair amount of shows and stuff during that time. Was there just like one release for MissAugust, or how much did you guys actually
As far
do?
as like material.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think and even the recordings, like Clay may have some on lock from way back.
I think
I'm sure there's like a
like-
vault of stuff that just
there-
never went out.
so. There was like two different there was like maybe three different versions of MissAugust. The one that existed before me, the one with me, and then
The transition to like
the one that
next stuff, yeah.
transitioned that was MissAugust, and then it fizzled into American Zero because MissAugust did contain at some point Alec, Jimmy, and Tom at some
Thomas,
point.
yeah.
Oh wow! See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was, and then that's when they were like, okay, we're going to change this in a completely different direction, and then it turned into American Zero. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I think, what was it? Ethan, I think, found more interest in We Paint the Sky first, and then it was just you, me, Quentin, and Tyler,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think Ethan wasn't in We Paint the Sky, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was definitely, and at that time too, like even the formation of American Zero, it's like Thomas and Jimmy and Alec, like they were in some bands too, and you know, just
We all shared bands.
the scene at the time.
And,
it was
the
a
way
couple
it still
different
does,
ones.
because
Yeah,
like
it's still
all the bands now have at least like one person from four other
Overlap.
bands.
Yeah, right.
Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan, Brian, Cody.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with, you know, people sharing members or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
and I think
Little
that's
band
what
in
makes
jest.
a healthy, you know,
I actually
ecosystem.
forgot. I'm not gonna lie. I actually have forgotten that had transitioned into American Zero until like maybe 5 minutes ago when we just brought it up.
Yeah.
So I completely forgot.
Well, and it's tough. Like, how do you define some of those shifts when, like, you know, if more than half the band is no longer in the band, but those couple members are, you know, where are we at?
And I remember, you know, like when people started, you know, leaving, you know, different groups, whether it was MissAugust or, you know, other bands, there was never this like, oh, well, fuck that guy, you know, or anything like that. Like, I
Yeah.
thought that was like a very healthy approach because, you know, I'm not going to name the bands from my hometown, but I've seen it happen a couple times where like it turns into like a competition at a certain point, which was very unhealthy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we've even kind of experienced that. You know, it was just like band members leaving, and it wasn't like necessarily on the greatest terms. And like obviously, like stuff's cool now, but like there was like a year-long period where like there's a little bit of animosity, like not intentional either. It was more one-sided.
Passive aggression, yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So it's cool when it doesn't go that way.
Yeah. Well, you had just brought up a little bit ago different eras of Danny. which is hard for me to believe because you're still the same age as when I first met
Hasn't
you.
changed.
You are, and I'm gonna put this will go on record. You are the scene Keanu Reeves. You do not age. You look exactly the same, and that is fantastic.
Thank you for not
Actual vampire.
lighting my grays, and acknowledging those. 'Cause I had to talk with my hairdresser the other time about like gray or white, and like which would you prefer?
Well, I have very obvious grays. I'm looking at. I can't find a single one.
Oh, that's all right.
I cannot
lighting's
find.
I was,
skill.
I was like, you're totally fucking with us right now.
Not
Yeah.
getting any younger, but yeah, I think the eras of me and just kind of like how music has fit in my life like helps define those eras. Because I think like in some capacity, I'm either like trying to go to more shows or I'm trying to play more music or, trying to listen to different things or entertaining things.
Right. Because I remember one era of Danny as like martial arts Danny. So,
Definitely
which
like moving my body.
yeah, no, and that's fantastic.
Throwing them
That's
limbs.
great because, is there a correlation between that and like, music for you? Like,
I think those are somewhat separate, but I think just like, martial arts or, yoga or whatever you're going to do like personally to kind of get in touch with your body. I think music and like when you're listening to something that is, fulfilling or like stimulating, I think like that feeling is kind of shared. So like when you feel in tune with your body when you're moving it around or when you just feel in tune because you're relaxing and you're hearing the things that are stimulating, it's like it kind of puts you in the same state, a meditative state, whatever it is, where more accepting. Yeah.
I think that's something that like if I found myself in a group playing music again, is my first thing that I would have to tell them is like, I'm gonna be a part of this band, but I need to meditate. Like I am probably gonna do this before, during, and probably after. But like I'm gonna need some
headspace.
some shutters down.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people go into bands thinking like, oh, we're gonna tour and like we're gonna play awesome shows and
Do all kinds of crazy
we
nonsense.
might sell one shirt or two shirts and that's gonna be cool. But taking the time to like self-heal is always put on the back burner, and I think that needs to be shoved just a little bit closer to the front.
Right. And just like, we described earlier in that relationship type setting, it's like you need to come to the band or whatever art you're making in, just like you were going to approach that date or that interaction with that person where it's like, oh, I do need to take care of my own shit so that I don't bring it into this. Yeah.
Right.
So obviously, it's been a little while since MissAugust has been around and whatnot. But it's cool that, even being in a different era of your life, you're still pretty in tune with what's going on around here music-wise. I mean, obviously you didn't leave that behind or anything.
Yeah, and I'm very appreciative in many ways for my partner Jessie because like she has helped show me sort of like what actual musicians, what the life is like and like what matters and how to do it and kind of as a career or to make money and realize that like, well, if you want to take yourself seriously and have others take you seriously and get paid for it, like you need to do certain things. And I think like practicing musicianship is something that like I've increasingly respected and realized more and more like, oh, like having your shit down does matter. And being able to like stand on your instrument, not physically, unless you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's art.
Unless you can stand on a theremin, I think.
yeah, you probably won't break that.
If you were in the chariot, you could stand on anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like so trying to work on that craft and like I think the way some people slap stuff together is fine and that's their method. But like usually those methods don't have a long duration. And it's like someone making good art, it's just sort of their ability to keep making it. And eventually you refine. And it's like if you play yourself a guitar or whatever instrument, you are just going to play the things that like are stimulating to you or that sound good. It's like you won't actively play things that are, coarse or that make you not want to play. And I think just like pursuing that and, when I feel good when I'm playing, it's very freeing and there are no confines. And I think a certain amount of what's in your head, you have to try and like play out
Yeah.
Or I think sometimes like, oh, if other people heard this, it probably would not sound the same as it does in my head. But I'm able to just kind of omit or not think about the notes that I don't want to hear. And then you just kind of naturally pull out the notes that you're like, oh, those sound good.
Right. You kind of realize like, oh, okay, like this is sick. Like this can go somewhere type of a thing. I mean, that's all demoing stuff out. Like with our most recent record, it's been done for a while now. But like going back and listening to the earliest versions of these songs that are like finalized now, it's like, oh my God, that's such a different song.
Right.
But like you hear where like the stuff you kept came from. You're like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like that, those are the parts that were sick.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening back and I go, some of that really sucked. Like I'm glad we got rid of the mud.
Yeah.
And being able to admit that is really cool because I feel like that makes you a better musician too. Is being able to be like, I can write some really bad things,
Right.
but like you can always find something cool out of it, especially if you're going to keep trying and just keep working on it and crafting what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think, fighting those two polarities of like, all my shit's awesome and it's all great, so if you don't think that, fuck you. Or I don't want to share any of it and I'm too, intimidated or afraid to play for even myself. And it's like, if you can just find that middle ground of like, and a phrase me and some friends have said a long time is like, you got to get the bad ideas out to get to the good ones.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're only going to produce like those good gems. It's like you just got to make stuff.
And one thing I had to like have to remind myself, or even had to like teach myself at one point, is be like, even if other people think it sucks, at least like I can be proud of what I did.
Right.
Because like, I mean, definitely wrote plenty of stinkers. Like, I mean, we had a whole album of stinkers for like our first band, and that was like very obvious first band thing.
But you
happens.
have to make those mistakes.
Yeah,
Like
you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that we did way back then, because
Right.
now we have bands that don't suck. Like now,
Yeah.
all of us play in better bands.
It's like no matter what, those mistakes have to get made. And I think like in the job world, like I make a lot of classic mistakes that I've witnessed on myself, and it's like, oh, but those classic mistakes have helped me like, oh, I will not do that again.
Yeah,
It's very defined, and it's like, okay.
You only touch a hot stove one time.
Yeah.
That's not true.
That's
I've done that a few
I've burned
times.
several parts of my body.
You just said a quote a minute ago. My shit's great. If you don't like it, fuck you. I think we just found the title for the show.
Danny's shit is better than yours. Fuck you. So
Well, I know that we kind of started things a little rough and kind of a little bit later. Are we short on time for you, or what are you looking at?
I'll probably get going pretty soon. I do have to pee again.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
So we can wrap this up in
Yeah,
the next
we
5 or
should
so minutes.
real quick, just kind of talk about the bike shop, what you're doing these
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
what's-
where things are at for you,
what's
what you
life
got going on.
for Danny.
You guys are so sweet. But yeah, I work on bikes, and that's been kind of the main musical instrument for a number of years at Coulee Bicycle Company.
How long have you been there?
I have been back into town going on like 6 years.
Okay.
So my friend Robbie bought the business from the previous owner, Kevin, who ran it as Blue Heron Bicycle Works for
And that's when I would have been
14
shopping there,
years.
so yeah.
Yep.
And I went to Blue Heron a lot.
Yeah.
I did too. I spent a lot of time in there.
So I think like as a collective shop, it's like over 20 years old. And yeah, it's been good. It's been a more intimate work environment as of late, just because there are only a few of us, Robbie, myself, and some part-time help. And I'm very thankful that we were 3 years in before the pandemic happened, kind of in this new Coulee setup versus Blue Heron, because that was nuts. And yeah, we at least had some groundwork where like it didn't destroy us.
Right, you already had a client base. And
Yeah,
stuff,
we had the
you
client
people
base.
that were going to keep coming.
We had enough product to sell, and we didn't overbuy. And I credit Robbie to that, and just kind of knowing like what we can withstand. And
So that was, a random question that I had was, when the pandemic hit, did you guys notice like a lot more new customers as well as your?
yeah,
People kind of wanted to get out of their house when they were stuck.
right.
I mean, I was definitely in that boat. Like, I spent a lot of time just riding bike with Brian. Brian and I would ride bike from south side of La Crosse downtown
Yeah.
to go do work, and then go right back, or we would just bike all over the place, kind of a thing. So I feel like that was a really pivotal time. Did that was it pretty apparent for you guys?
Oh yeah, and having experienced like the bike scene for a few years earlier, and it was weird because it's like that separation happened. It's sort of like it fractured the scene or community that a lot of the familiar faces were used to. But at a certain point, like, we need those new people, and like we can't all just keep seeing each other and giving pats on the back, because it's like, well, that's not how we like make new friends or invite new people in.
Yeah, it's very similar to music in that way.
Totally.
Like you actually have to put yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah, and like, you know, fucking be nice to people.
Yeah, just don't be a piece of shit.
The basic ground rules for life.
Fucking be nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing a lot of new people was good, and I mean, for a salesperson, it was just like your best dream, because like you no longer have to really try that hard to sell anything.
Yeah, you got people that are like, I'm going to buy,
I
but
need
I
to
need
buy
you to
this.
tell me what it is.
Yeah, you know, I need your help, and I like to compare it, and it's probably a lofty, unrealistic comparison, but more like a librarian, where it's like, you just tell me what you need and what you're looking for, or like what you want to do, and like I can help you sift through all the bike stuff, because like I don't expect you to know all these things, and I appreciate that. And I like just helping people.
Hell yeah.
Well, I got some handlebars for you to work on at some point here, so I'll be swinging that in as soon as I find an open Friday. So
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's been really nice to actually get to meet you finally
Been great to
after
talk with you.
forever.
the
It
legend
feels like.
himself.
Yes.
I know about that.
We've always got open doors with this. So once you know, if it's still in the same spot, that's cool. And you know, if we can have you on again, you know, when we got a little bit more of free time.
Next time I'll bring the banjo.
Yeah.
Please, dude. We'll actually try
Bring
to,
Jess
like,
next time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We get you
no,
both.
We need Jess's perspective. We need the turtle shell drum.
Yeah.
I know you've got a
That
better
turtle
name
shell's
for it.
actually going to take your
I-
spot on that case. So,
I'm very
hold the mic
ignorant
up.
too.
yeah. Come on, buddy.
I'm stupid ignorant when it comes to the actual name, because I hear it one time and I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. 5 seconds later, I can't tell you what the fucking drum's name was.
That's
so.
all right.
But it's such a sick drum. Like, I remember the first time you brought it, and I was like, yeah, we'll actually try to make some jams on the show. So that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, do a little goofing,
Yeah.
a little silly.
So,
Awesome.
well, thank you for
Thanks for
spending some
coming and
time
hanging out with us.
And doors always open. Until
Yeah.
next time.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Danny.